Alright, yeah, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing a format that we have been enjoying in the past, but since new standard came around has been neglected by myself a little bit. We're going to be playing some historic best of one, and I wasn't really sure what to play in today's video, in all honesty, until I realised that I hadn't really done the content creator thing of jumping on the bandwagon of making my own Sanctum deck. So, Sanctums... it's gonna be. We're gonna be playing Sanctums and Hondens today. In our style of deck, it's got a lot of lovely little pieces built around the card Sanctum of All. So if you haven't seen this card, it's a 5-color legendary enchantment Shrine, which is very important. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or graveyard for a Shrine card and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If an ability of another Shrine you control triggers while you control 6 or more Shrines, that ability triggers an additional time. So these are legendary enchantments, which means we need one of each kind on the board, and they all end up caring about the amount of shrines you've got on the board. So you are incentivized to make as many individual shrines in your deck as possible. So we've got all of them, naturally. Let's just sort them all out here, shall we? That's a Wrath of God. Don't you dare. Alright, here, a bit of that, bit of this, bit of that. I think it's about 17 in total. 16, actually. 16 Sanctums of All. And let's go down them, shall we? I'm not going to talk about them too much in detail. They should kind of speak for themselves as we play the game. Sanctum of Tranquil Light, 1 white mana, has a 6 mana to tap an effect, but costs 1 less for each shrine you control. So if you end up having 5 shrines on board, all of your white mana will tap creatures. It's great at stalling out the game. Sanctum of Stonefangs is one of our win cons, 2 mana legendary enchantment, beginning of your pre-combat main phase. So as well, I should mention that there are a subtle difference between the Sanctums and the Hondens. They've got the Shrine subtype, which is really all that matters at the end of the day. However, the Sanctums have a pre-combat main phase ability to play around with Sanctum of All, whereas the Hondens are on your upkeep. So, Hondens will happen at the same time as your Sanctum, and then your Sanctum has the ability to pull other Sanctums, which then trigger. So if I went with a Sanctum of All and I pulled a Honden, it wouldn't actually do anything until my next turn, which is why we've got a little bit of a split between our Hondens and our Sanctums in terms of 1s and 2-ofs. We don't really want more than 2, because obviously we're legendary ruling. We want to find one of each throughout the entire game. So Sanctum of Stonefangs, going to be our Drain win con. Infinite Rage is going to be our alternative win con as well. 3 mana to deal damage equal to the number of shrines you control to any target, so we can use this as creature removal or face removal. Sanctum of Shattered Heights, similar to the red Honden, except for this one has a pay 1 and discard a land or a shrine to deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker, where X is the number of shrines you control. Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest ramps you when you've got shrines. Honden of Cleansing Fire gains you 2 life for each shrine. Calm Waters draws you X cards and then discards a card, X cards being the amount of shrines. Honden discards cards from your opponent. Honden is a non-May draw a card effect, so this one's strictly worse in my personal opinion than the Sanctum of Calm Waters. This one can deck you, so be careful. We do have a Commit to Memory in our deck to shuffle our graveyard and library together and draw 7 cards, but that will give our opponent 7 cards as well. So unless we've got like a Honden of Knight's Reach to also make them discard loads, it's not going to be the greatest idea of all time. Honden of Life's Web is our 3rd win con, I suppose. 5 mana for a bit of a combat damage win con here. Makes 1/1 colorless spirit creature tokens for each shrine you control. So that is essentially the deck. We're going to be putting down all of these Hondens and shrines as much as possible and have them stack up, getting increasingly powerful as the game goes on. In order to survive the game, we've got a number of things that we can do here. We've got the nice prevent all combat damage package here, which is only really good against creature-based decks, but you know what? I do like me some Turbo Fog, so Turbo Fog is the route that we choose to go this time. So Haze of Pollen and Root Snare pretty much do exactly the same thing, prevented all combat damage that will be dealt on the turn that you use it. Haze of Pollen, however, does have a cycling of 3 on the off chance that the matchup is not particularly good. I think if it's not a good matchup for Haze of Pollen, though, then it's probably not a good matchup for Shrines in general, so you're probably losing anyway. But you know what? Is what it is. Then 3 Wrath of Gods as well to destroy all creatures, because we can't really be fogging all day every day. at least until we've got well established. So if we can just wipe the board, then we don't have to fog and we can build these up for a later time. We do also have the Zendikar flip lands as well. A couple of note. Valakut's Awakening puts any number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your library and draws that many cards +1. So if we have some excess Sanctums or cards that aren't particularly good in the matchup, we can just put them to the bottom of the library. We won't ever see them again, because I don't believe, other than Sanctum of All, we have a way of shuffling our deck, so it'll be a long time before we see those cards again. And it just means that we can take some dead cards and make them not dead cards. Seagate Restoration draws cards equal to the number of cards you have in your hand +1, and you have no maximum hand size. Somewhat relevant. If we have an excess of cards in our hand, then the Sanctum of Shattered Heights becomes pretty good. Otherwise, you know, when you've got time to cast it, you might as well. Otherwise, it's just going to be a land. And then finally, Shatter Skull Smashing as a 2-of. Can do some X damage divided as you choose, as a little bit of target removal as well. And again, can count as a land. Other than that, though, got Thirst for Meaning, draws 2 cards and then makes you discard unless it's an enchantment card. Draws 3 and discards 2 unless one of them is an enchantment card. And then it's a discard 1. Again, if we've got excess legendary enchantments, that's one way to do it. And then Commit to Memory, speaks for itself. We are running Kahira in this deck because we might as well. We have no creatures, so the companion rule just basically is free. So might as well throw it in there. 24 lands with the additional of spell lands, so we shouldn't really get mana screwed at all. We could get color screwed. It is a 5-color deck after all, but we'll take the chances on that one. But yeah, before we do that, before we get into the game, let's open some packs. You're my lucky charm, chat. So let's see what these 3 Zendikar Rising packs have in store for me. It's a fine one. I actually have a an angel plan coming up soon. So maybe we can do that. Oh, that's the best card in the set. Hopefully we can get another one of them. One pack away from getting another, I suppose. And then finally, Roiling Vortex. Also a pretty cool card as well. Not too applicable on anything except for the prevent damage and the 1 damage per upkeep. It's a fun thing you can do with Roiling Vortex. Hopefully I'll do that soon enough. Don't know what format though, but we'll see. Anyway, without further ado, if you enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty then, we're in, and looks like a fine-ish hand. We've got the Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest to fix our mana. We can get to that pretty easy with the Shatter Skull Smashing, Triomes and whatnot. So we're going to keep this one. And yeah, just lead off with the Ketria Triome. Our opponent is playing Yorion as their commander. We're playing Kahira as ours. Kahira is just free in our deck, so we might as well. For our opponent, it costs an extra couple of cards, which, air quotes, reduces consistency. Alright. Growth Spiral. This is an Uro pile. Okay. Could end up being a Sanctum list of their own, I suppose. That would be pretty interesting. I think we're just going to go with the Shatter Skull Smashing tapped here. Likely to need all the other colours of mana as well, so... There's Uro. Guess it could also just be another Omnath pile. It's entirely possible. Maybe it's both. Maybe there's no reason not to play all of them. Thoughtseize for our opponent can take the Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest here. These fogs, if it is going to be Sanctums, are going to be pretty damn useless. But I would love if you took a Root Snap. Love it. So yeah, we got a lot of dead cards in our deck. Seems our opponent has a lot less in the mirror. There's a Thirst for Meaning. Okay. So I guess we'll just play that down now. Good lord. Alright, I don't think we're going to need Root Snare. I don't think we're going to need Haze of Pollen. We'll take the lands, though. Sanctum of All can kind of just, like, carry this game, so... What on earth is this? Can't pay life or sacrifice non-land permanents to cast spells or activate abilities. Okay. That is relevant. So I need to just go like... Well, I need like black and blue, I think, to separate us here. So let's just go with the black pathway. Can't see why I'd want to root snare a 4/4 this turn. Can't pay life. So things like Shatter Skull, Smashing, can't pay for that. So it'd be a tap land guaranteed. Oath of Kaya, okay. Maybe it's like a Niv Mizzet pile then. Interesting. So if I go green, black, white, blue, yeah, I could do Sanctum of All off of this. As long as I'm not dead, this is really good. Start building up my Sanctums. I can start Wrathing as well to stop Omnaths and Uros and whatnot from dealing combat damage, which can certainly be relevant. Yeah, there's Omnath. So I'm going to search my library. I don't think I've put anything. Got Sanctum of the Fruitful Harvest. I'm going to go library though, because we've got another one in our deck, I think. Yeah. Pre-combat main phase or an upkeep Honden to gain life. It's a tough call, to be honest, on which one you should really pick here. Could even go with the Shattered Heights, which allows me to pick apart Omnath for 2 mana. But I already have the Wrath, so I don't really care about that. I think I'm just going to go with the white life gain Honden, in all honesty. Let's gain some life back. So let's go white mana. Wrath of God. Okay, pass the turn. So we're gaining 4 life a turn now. Should mean that Omnath triggers and things like that shouldn't be able to just pick us apart out of nowhere, because it does deal 4 damage on the 3rd time, which happens every time. And usually they Genesis Ultimate him to 2nd Omnath, so they can deal like 8 damage in the same turn through creating new instances. So just going to Lightning Helix us here, which is fine. Okay, go to 6, and now we have to decide what's the next card that we really care about. We could go for card draw with the Sanctum of Karn Waters or the Honden. I think the Honden of Seeing Winds is just worse than the Sanctum though, because eventually it will kill us. Could go with the Honden of Night's Reach, make sure that they're on top decks forever. It's also a possibility. White Sanctum, we can tap down their board so we don't take that damage. I think I just want Sanctum of Shattered Heights, though. Gain 6 life. And now I can deal 3 damage and point it all over the place. It's pretty great, to be honest. So I'm just going to take care of Lotus Cobra here. And discard... Yeah, just get rid of the Needle Verge Pathway, I guess. They know about it, and I plan on cycling my Triome, maybe. Later down the line, anyway. Let's go with Thirst Meaning. Discard Honden of Seeing Winds. Yeah, I guess I'll just play it tapped. Another Lotus Cobra. Should be totally fine with that, though. Especially if they just pass the turn here. They got 8 cards in the yard, but they don't have Uro mana. So this Sanctum of All is going to search our library and probably start closing out the game with a Stone Fangs. I don't really care about the cards in their hand, honestly. We've got a blue Sanctum in our hand already. Yeah, I think I'll just go with the Stone Fangs. Gain 8 life. Drain them for 4. Go with Calm Water so we can find all of our nasty cards. And we're at 20, and our opponent basically can't beat us with combat damage at this point. Our only fatal flaw is a destroy all enchantments kind of effect. I think it's even too late now to actually deal with the Sanctum of All. So there's Uro. Got the Wrath to clean up this board, so we don't care. Kaya Orzhov Usurper. Too late for the ult on that to matter. Need to make sure we don't get white, the white Sanctum that taps. Because that won't do us any favors. Yeah, might as well just root snare. Opponent's dead. Alright, library. This time we will go with... I guess it's now time for Honden of Knight's Reach. Fun's over, chat. Fun is over. Now we get double triggers because we got enough Sanctums and Hondens and whatnot. I will discard an island. There's no sense in drawing another 6 cards. We'll go with Honden of Infinite Rage. Double down on that kind of damage as well. Really don't need to think too hard on what I'm doing here. Game's over, so... Again, if they've got a Destroy All Enchantments effect, so be it. Like Heliod's Intervention or whatnot. Then we're kind of in trouble. There's not really a great deal we can do about that, though, except for once they've done it, draw with some meaning to try and find another Sanctum. Or next time we trigger it, we draw until we find the spare Sanctum so we can rebuild later down the line. It's just too late, though. We've got too many Sanctums. And all of these, by the way, are getting doubled as well, so getting 2 life for each Sanctum we control. It's actually 4 life. This will point damage at our opponent twice over. This will drain twice over, so... Yeah, they're dead. They're absolutely dead. Next game. Alrighty then, let's have a look-see. You've got decent mana. Sanctum of Calm Waters is our first Sanctum, which is a little slow, but we have a Root Snare to slow our opponent down, so shouldn't have to care too much. It's going to be mono red by the looks of it. Alright, so Savai Triumph to lead off with. Get that tap land out of the way while we still can. So what we're hoping for here, mostly to not die. That's kind of the key in this scenario. I think the Shatterskull Smashings in our hand are just a little bit better than down as lands. If it's going to be like just classic mono red, then having them as removal spells might be quite useful. I have no idea what they're doing. Not playing anything here. Truly, I'm a little bit confused. Well, let's play the mountain. Yeah, it's past turn, I guess. Yeah, it can't be goblins, because you don't do this with goblins. I was going to say, it's probably something like Big Red. And the scariest thing they could do to us is a Nugin. It's Turbo Muxus, but they don't have a turn 4 play. Until they get to Ironcrag Feet. Fair enough. What a wonderful game of Magic the Gathering. We lose. Why haven't they banned this card? I don't understand it. Then again, I don't really understand a lot of things that Wizards are doing these days. They kind of seem hell-bent on killing their game, so... So be it, I suppose. Let's just Root Snare. I just want to see what I'll draw. It's never going to be good enough, so... There's a Wrath, and we don't have the double white, so we move on. Alrighty then, we're in. We've got Root Snares, we've got lands. Let's keep in my books. See what we got. What you doing, House of the Dads? Burn, okay. So, Burn is an interesting matchup. Sorry, did I say interesting? I meant Burn is a matchup. And we've got to be careful about stomps, most of all, because they can prevent combat prevention. So these root snares won't work if our opponent does stomp our face at any point. So we can't really afford to go down critically low before we start root snaring and hazing. Well, there's a Sanctum. So I think with the Sanctum of Tranquil Light and the Honden of Cleansing Fire, this game is just actually won right now. I don't believe we can lose. Could be proven wrong, but we're gaining 4 life every single turn with the Honden. It's going to be 6 once we get to the Sanctum, which we are guaranteed to get to at this point. This doesn't say damage prevention. No, it doesn't. Alright, so our opponent's going to prowess up the best they can, which is great. Also, Lavamancer can deal direct damage, but again, it's not going to really matter here. So that's 6 points of damage they are not getting in. 7, I suppose. We actually want them to get in with the Lavamancer here. So we're at 15. We're about to drop down a Honden. They have to kill us right here, and they've just used all of their exciting burn spells. And we've got a Honden... sorry, not a Honden. A Haze of Pollen for next turn. So we're going to gain 4 life here. Wizard's Lightning. How much is this, actually? We're at 3. Now we're at 7. What a world, eh? What a wonderful world we live in. So we can't really stay at 7. We need to go a little bit higher. So the Haze of Pollen here going to be absolutely critical. Let's go up a little bit higher. Let's go up 4 more points of life. That might allow us to potentially survive a little longer. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wow, you still have everything you need, eh? I guess we'll go with Shatterskull summoning... smashing. I always call it summoning. X3, take the Lavamancer out, and a Lava Runner, I suppose. Oh, no, I don't. Really wish it wouldn't hover like that. That's very misleading. This is 4 to tap. I think we just got to go with... Oh. Oh, baby. Okay, well, we're going to discard you and you. And we're just going to gain too much life. Yeah, actually, it was a little bit touch and go in that spot. It really was. But now it isn't. That's a Survive Triome. So we can take 15, right? What is this card? Let's assume they've got 2 spells. That's 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15. I mean, it's still technically enough. So let's just get Kahira. It was a shock. Why would you use it there? Their best hope of winning is me not having a root snare and the prowess triggers off Soulscar Mage actually matter. So opponent has a land in hand, which is why they're going with the channeler play here. We're still going to root snare. It's a lot of damage regardless that we really shouldn't be taking. So let's just gain 4 more life. Yep, there's the land. So I'm going to exile 2 cards. I get to pick 1. They're going to go with the Slaying Fire for 4 points of damage at our face. Again, not sure why they're not making good use out of the prowess triggers, but to each his own. I'm just going to go for it. If we're dead, we're dead. We're at 2. So Lavamancer, we gain 6. Sanctum of Shattered Heights. I want to draw some cards here, because I don't want to die. We'll get rid of Kahira at this point, probably. Although it's a decent blocker, I guess we'll get rid of Commit. We'll go red. Sanctum of Shattered Heights. Play Kahira, hold up, and Root Snare. It now costs 2 to tap with Sanctum, so we can lock off a lot of combat damage here. I'm just going to trade with a Soulscar Mage at this rate. So Lavamancer kills Kahira. Opponents get to try and get in once again. We just say no. We say no until the end of the time. And now I think we are in a position where we cannot lose. Gain 8. Up to 16. Don't know why our opponent's still playing. Anywhere up until right at this very moment was an acceptable point to stay in this game. But going up to 14 right there and drawing 4 cards with a 2-mana tapper and plenty of mana to do literally nothing but continue to tap and basically root snare them. Yeah. I was actually really, really close. I would say our opponent probably couldn't have won there, but if we hadn't have thirsted straight into 2 root snares, I think we actually were going to lose that one, which is kind of hilarious after I said that there was no chance that we could lose. Opponent had a really good hand. It just wasn't good enough. Next game. Alrighty then, we're in. We got a 3-lander. Plenty of colours of mana here, including Wrath of God mana. We are on the draw. We can play Honden of Infinite Rage, so I think we keep this one. It is, without a doubt, quite sketchy. But I think it's a keepable one anyway. So we go Seagate Restoration tapped into turn 3 Honden of Infinite Rage, and then do some little pings here and there, most likely. I guess we don't really need to at that point, because we got the Breeding Pool. But I am going to want to have this untapped at some point, so I'd much rather take 2 off of the Breeding Pool than the 3 off of the Seagate Reborn. I don't think I'm going to use the 7-mana side of this card anyway, so I might as well just use it now. Yeah, the likely outcome here is that I do just drop down the Honden of Infinite Rage in this spot. Although we could go for a turn 4 Wrath of God. I guess we could do that anyway. If I just went with the Plains. I end up taking a little bit more damage here, but I think that's not so bad. If it means that I can actually, like, progress my board state. Get additional colours of mana for the Breeding Pool, and then hopefully that means I can set up a Sanctum of All. So opponent correctly realises that I have nothing that Murderous Rider is ever going to hit. That's pretty good. So we can put that on red, and I can Wrath here. Probably want to do that. Mayhem Devil is a one way they can get around Haze of Pollens. And then on a clean board I can drop a Sanctum really safely. So let's do that. Sanctum of All coming down next turn. I'm pretty certain we could do that because this is the green we really need here. It's going to be a Corvold. So our big worrying points at this stage are not gaining enough life that Cat Combo beats us. I think that's basically the one bit. Seriously. I wish they'd fix this corner card part here. It's getting really annoying. So I can deal 2 damage to any target now, which probably hits a grand total of 10% of their deck. But that will be growing every single turn. We got the Root Snares to not have to care too much about Corvold necessarily. Although he's definitely a must-answer threat because they can find Assassin's Trophies and whatnot if they've got them in their deck. Just by, you know, attacking, sacking permanents that they were going to sack anyway. the loss of combat damage is not that much of a big deal for them. Yeah, Mayhem Devil also a problem. But one that we can deal with next turn. If we're not dead. I mean, 8 points off of this life total here, taking us to 6. Can they 6 us next turn? I'd go out on a limb and say it's certainly possible. In fact, the way this is triggered, Sanctum of All will go and put 3 permanents into play, so it's less of a problem. I think you just take the Honden of Cleansing Fire then if our life total's the big issue here. Steal 3 to that. Next turn, gain 6 life. It's a shame this isn't the Shattered Heights, otherwise we'd be playing that down this turn, but here we are. You are not something I can play, because I can't hold up and my fogs, which, to be honest, I don't really need this many of. So let's cycle one of them. It's a land drop. So let's make our land drop. So we're going to Root Snare their turn. If they play anything like a Mayhem Devil that cares about pinging, I guess we just Root Snare preemptively. Trail of Crumbs. Okay, that's... it's going to get them into a nice spot. You can sack the food token, pay the 1. I wonder if they're like a Bolus's Citadel list, actually. It's just Root Snare now. Often, when I've played a lot of fog decks in my time, and there's definitely a non-zero amount of times where you fog and our opponent doesn't attack, even though it's still profitable to do so. I guess this is the situation I'm talking about, really. They could have sacked that to Corvold on the attack trigger and got Trail of Crumbs for 1 mana instead of the 3 it's ended up costing them. Gonna take care of the Woe Strider. Yeah, they just don't attack. It doesn't stop the attack triggers, it just stops the combat damage. Opponent unsure of this interaction, I guess. Stone Fangs. Night's Reach is also good, because they've got a hell of a lot of cards in their hand. We could just go for a Sanctum of Calm Waters, though. And that just increases the odds that we'll end up just finding those cards naturally. I'm gonna take the draw 4 here. And we will discard... the Infinite Rage. I'm gonna keep a Sanctum in our hand just in case they do find like an Assassin's Trophy, then I can just play one back down. And we'll be laughing. Still don't have that green mana, eh? Nothing's changed on that front. Do you just go with the Wrath of God then for Corvold? I don't know if you care too much to do that, to be honest, but... tell you what, let's cycle. Yeah. Okay. This is fine. We're gonna haze. They're gonna not deal combat damage again. Ping us for 1. I would say it's impossible now for Cat Combo to kill us on its own. It's going to need a nice compound of engine pieces, really, to get past the Cleansing Fire that's getting progressively better, by the way. I guess they could find Stomp. It's technically a card in their deck. I should be fogging right now to play around that. In case they are digging for it, because permanent cards can get Bone Crusher Giant. And if they can get Corvold to 13, then obviously that's a big problem for us. But now we've prevented the damage, I think... oh, actually, no, I think they can still Stomp, right? Thoughtseize takes my Wrath of Gods. Yeah, well, now they don't have Stomp mana. Yeah, I've got to be very careful about that, actually. I hadn't considered the post-Stomp combat. Gets rid of the most powerful card on their board. Second only to Corvold. Strange. Okay. I'm just going to hit Cauldron Familiar. Search my library. What do I want here? I just really want a Wrath, to be honest. I guess we go with Sanctum of Shattered Heights. Valakut's Awakening. Nice. So I'll draw 5. This means that I can take care of Corvold nice and easily. Get rid of a land. So I think we'll just commit Corvold here. Seems simple enough. This pathway can go on white, and our opponent can go to the next game. Sweet. Yeah. Playing around Stomp is not a thing you technically can do, except for by having more life than your opponent can take away. And we were definitely getting to that point, for sure. We do have another Root Snare as well. How many cards do we have left? 31. So we got halfway through our deck. We were about to get onto double Sanctum triggers as well. So next turn was probably going to be the Black Drain Sanctum, which would deal 12 points, so a two-turn clock just on that alone. In fact, no, it would actually been just on our next turn. Because the Honden can point at our opponent's face, and then the Black Sanctum could have finished it off. So it's always important to kind of stabilize with the Sanctum rather than going for your opponent's face. If you can't stabilize, then hitting your opponent in the face isn't going to matter much if you're dead. So just making sure that we can, you know, set up an unlosable position, which I think we were definitely doing there. Then we were going to be in a good spot. But yeah, kind of had a weird logic loop going around with playing around Stomp there. I admit that. But yeah, we even have memory, by the way, as well. So if we discard to hand size, we can put all of these fogs back into our deck, which is somewhat of the point of a commit to memory. It's mostly to stop ourselves from decking ourselves, because I imagine if I have Honden of Seeing Winds, this is not a May ability. This one is. But this one can deck you if you are not careful, especially with double Sanctum triggers and bad math and board awareness. But yeah, good stuff. Okay then, we've got ourselves a 3-lander, which does actually have the Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest ready to go. It's a shame that we have duplicates in a practically singleton Honden deck, but you take what you're given, I suppose. Alright, well, let's go with the Ketria Triumph and pass. Seagate Restoration coming into play next turn. It's going to be mono red, so we're going to want to see as many Wraths and Fogs as humanly possible here. Followed by a form of life gain as well. We've played this matchup, we know how it goes. This Sanctum. Okay, so this will be for white mana. Into the Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest, which, if the board state does not please me, allows me to make the white mana we need for the Wrath of God. Otherwise, I might be able to safely drop a Sanctum of All next turn and take a little bit of a beating for the future life-gaining Honden. This board state scares me, so I will be wrathing. Double Steam Kin means that they can just empty their hand out in its entirety, and I don't like that. Double Stomp. Woof. Alright, so yeah, we want to basically get rid of this board state. At this point, I'll go Valakut Stoneforge tapped as well. So now we can do Sanctum of All, hopefully relatively safely. So, they do have their Stomps, which is the reason why I wasn't going to go for a Fog in that turn. Let's see, what do we want to do here? We're at 12, and our opponent probably can't kill us, so... let's see, white, blue, I need black. Sanctum of All. And tap Triumph. If Sanctum of All can save us, it is now. Opponent with a Fervent Champion for 1 point of damage. We're going to search our library to get the Honden of Cleansing Fire here, just to gain the life back. We've got the root snares, which obviously our opponent can and probably will start throwing at our face if they've got more stomps. Otherwise, we're going to prevent the damage, gain too much life, and win the game. So let's get this as black mana. And I guess we might as well get Kahira out there as well for future. I'm going to root snare on upkeep so that they can't find that Bone Crusher stomp. We're 2 for 4 already, so there's not really too much of a big odd of them actually finding that. Okay, so now we win. Sanctum of All searches the library. It's going to search for, I think, Sanctum of Shattered Heights. Actually, no, Stonefangs is just better. Let's just go up to 19, right? And then let's also just go up to 23. And then let's just add blue mana, I suppose. Yeah. So Durdly start for our opponent allowed us with our Durdly hand to take the victory there. And yeah, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. So probably a little bit on the shorter side, but these have been pretty quick games. But I feel like we've showcased what this deck can do. Overall verdict is that this deck is trash. I wouldn't really recommend playing Sanctums unless you absolutely just enjoy the style of game. And as I mentioned in the deck tech, never really played Sanctums on the channel when M21 came out, and I probably should have, but here we are. This is my Sanctums video, jumping on that Sanctum bandwagon as a content creator. Hopefully you've enjoyed it anyway, and if you have, like and subscribe, and we'll be back later on in the week for some more Magic the Gathering. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and take care.